everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. This week I am going to be putting my Regency project on hold for a little bit because I want to do some alterations instead. And specifically what I want to start off with is altering the two dresses that SeamsFriendly had first sent me before they had my arm measurement. If you haven't seen the video where I talk about all that, I will link that up here if you want to go check that out. But they told me to keep the dresses and or give them away, etc. And so what I'm going to do is keep them and alter them to fit. So we're going to start with those two dresses today. If I get through those quickly enough, I might move on to some other alterations that I have to do, because behind this camera, I have hanging up a bunch of things that need to be altered, some of which have been there since 2021. And I just haven't gotten around to them. So maybe we'll get to them this week and maybe they will continue to stay there and we'll just tackle these two this week. We'll see. But to start off with, I am going to be looking at this pink dress right here. Now, this dress fits perfectly everywhere except for the sleeves. That's why you can see that they are unbuttoned right now, because these are meant to be long sleeves. So they were meant to be a lot longer down to my wrist here. And if they were longer, then this cuff would fit. But where it is currently, the cuff does not fit. And frankly, I don't need this to be a 3/4 sleeve length dress. I need this to be either a short sleeve dress for summer because it's a nice, crisp, lightweight cotton, or for this time of year, frankly, what I would get a lot more use out of is a jumper dress. You know me, you know I love jumper dresses. So we are going to alter this dress to a jumper dress for now, because I am actually going to hang on to the sleeve pieces here, keep them intact at this moment, but have them so that I can later, like in May or June, etc., make this into a short sleeve dress if I want to. I might even see if I can do it in a way that they can be like removable, like if I could snap them in or something like that, maybe do some whip stitches real quickly to just have them in, because I think it would be nice to have like a short sleeve puffed sleeve dress in this nice hot pink with the ruffle at the bottom. That would be great. Or I would love to have that jumper dress. But there's one other alteration that we need to make besides removing the sleeves and finishing the arm size if we are to make this into a jumper dress. And that is, frankly, this neckline is way too high for a jumper dress. So we need to knock this neckline down a little bit lower. I think I want to do a sweetheart. Of course, a sweetheart is more complicated than just a square or a round, but I love a sweetheart neckline. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to draw on myself on this dress what the sweetheart neckline should look like where I want that to go. And then I'm going to cut out the excess. I'm going to take off the sleeves and we are going to finish the new neckline and finish the arm size just with bias tape. So it's a nice and easy project. This is definitely the easier of the two dresses because the purple one has a lot of fit issues as well because the back is just way too large. So that's going to take a lot more time this week, but let's go do this one nice and quickly. I have now drawn out the new neckline just on one side because it's much easier to then take this off and like fold it and make sure that the sides match before, you know, actually cutting out the excess. This is where I want it to actually be. So I am going to leave a little bit of a seam allowance on top of that, about 3/8 of an inch, because when you're adding bias tape, the seam allowance tends to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to leave a little bit more of the seam allowance up there, and same with on the side here. But this is my new line for the neckline. And I also am not sure that I actually got it to the center, so that's why it's also a really good idea to make your lines on one side and then fold it and make sure that they match. Up here, I'm going to undo the binding that they did on the neckline because I like the binding, like I like the neckline placement in the back and until basically the shoulder point, and at that point I need the new neckline. So I can undo a little bit of it and probably meet up with their binding in the back and just leave that as is and just do my own binding in the front. But I think this is a really pretty new neckline, and it's still high enough that if I go to add the sleeves on it and have it as a short sleeve puffs dress, it is still going to be high enough of a neckline that it can be its own standalone, but also low enough that for winter, it works great to put a dress under it and use it as a jumper dress. I have now finished removing the sleeves and cutting away the neckline from the dress, so it's ready for binding, and that's really all that it needs at this point. However, naturally, I don't have the right color bias tape, and I don't really have anything that I could make it out of either, and I don't want to make it out of that because remember, I'm not cutting up these sleeves. So I'm gonna have to wait on this, the finishing of this, until I go to Joann's and get more matching bias tape, which means that we can now move on to the purple dress. So let me go put the purple dress on and show you what all needs to happen with it. So for the purple dress, besides the fact that the sleeves were too short and therefore the cuffs couldn't nearly close around basically my elbow, like that's so way off. The real big issue with this is the fact that the back is huge. Hopefully you can see how much it's gapping away from my back there. It's really, I feel like the front is actually doing pretty okay, even in the shoulders. All of that excess is really coming from the back, and specifically the upper back, because the waist, again, the waist is fine. It fits great at the waist. So it's just that they made the back shoulders somehow super, super wide. So that's what we need to take in. And to do that, I'm kind of in a way going to do like a reverse dart. I mean, it's still a dart. It's just upside down of what you would normally think of as bust darts. And so I'm going to take like a wedge seam out of the back. So I have to pay attention to how this is bound, because actually this is faced, I think, all the way around. It's definitely faced in the front, and I believe it is faced in the back as well. So I'm going to have to probably undo that facing and then take like a seam out of the middle of the facing as well, and then match that back up, just because otherwise it's going to get super, super bulky in the back, and we want to kind of get rid of as much fabric as possible so that we don't have a weird bulk of fabric in the center back of the dress. Nobody wants that. So we are going to fix that, and I think again with this one, I am just going to do this as a jumper dress, because with it also being such a low neckline, like the neckline itself doesn't need to change for a jumper dress. It's already actually a really nice low neckline, both in front and in back. I wouldn't normally wear a dress without it being a jumper that has such a low back neckline. Like the front is fine, but this is like, I practically feel like my shoulder blades are exposed. I know they're not, and I know that most of that is also just because of how loose it is back in my shoulder blades, but it just feels weird. So I know 2 jumper dresses, 1 video, but I think that's what we're going to go for, which means that we will also wind up needing to bind the arm size here. But I want to fix the back fitting before I look at like finishing off the arm size. So I'm going to remove the sleeves and take that wedge out of the back, undo the facing at the back, take the wedge out of the back, and see what we get to. Okay, so actually I pinned out the top of the wedge here. It's probably over 2 inches that's going to need to be removed up at the top. And I also marked where to bring it down to in kind of the center back. But in doing that and in looking at the mirror a lot, maybe I just didn't notice it before, but we're also like, it's nice and smooth, and then I think because the facing is so thick, it's coming away from the body right here, which is like really weird, and it's kind of wrinkly and stuff too, and I don't think ironing's gonna fix that. So I'm thinking of actually taking off the entire facing and just rebinding the neckline, maybe bringing it down a little bit lower just in case it's a fit issue right there, which is I think also what it is. I'm also noticing that like right here, just right at the edge, it sticks up weirdly. I think that's because it's so thick with the facing, because I believe there is a seam on, yeah, there's a seam on both the facing and the exterior, so it's just really thick. So I think that all of that can be fixed by just completely removing the facing all the way around the neckline and rebinding that with a nice thin bias tape instead of the thick twill, because they are using this twill on the exterior and the interior of the facing. So yeah, I'm going to actually change it up just a little bit, probably drop it down to below where that seam is so that it fits nice and flush against myself, and just rebind the neckline and arm size with bias tape while also taking that wedge out of the back. So firstly, the pink jumper dress is now complete. I have all of the binding everywhere, neckline, arms, eyes, etc. I did actually wind up doing the binding by machine because I realized that if I had done it by hand, for one thing, the part that I left that was existing in the back, that was already done by machine. So I would have like a random section done by machine and then the front not, which seemed a little bit weird. And secondly, this isn't lined. And so even if I were to do it by hand, you would see the stitches through. That was actually what we were seeing making the kind of wrinkle on the purple dress before too, was hand stitches, or at least like a, if not by hand, like a blind hem type stitch that was tacking the facing down all the way around. So this one I will likely do by machine as well, but we will cross that bridge at least in a few minutes. So I have the purple dress on right now, obviously with no sleeves, and I have already taken in the back. So the back fits really nicely now. It was 2.75 inches that I took all together out of the top of the back and then tapering it down to like almost the low back over here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and serge off the excess so that I don't have that huge wedge of fabric just like sitting inside my jumper dress. I just don't need that there. And then I put it back on because I realized that I hadn't lowered the neckline. It is definitely still bubbling. If anything, it's worse without the facing on. It's very weird, and I'm hoping that I only need to take it down like that sort of 1.5 inches where this line is. I don't know if you can see the line, but that's my eyeball line of where I'm taking it down to. I'm going to match the sides up, make sure that everything is even, and take that out. But also I noticed that the arms eyes down over here just kind of stick out really far, and they get a little wrinkled up because of that. And I think it's not so noticeable with like sleeves when sleeves are attached, but it's very noticeable as a jumper dress and you get this big contrast of color. So I'm actually going to take out a bit of the arm's eye as well, just cut that a little bit wider from about like here-ish to I think just the underarm is all I need to do. I don't think I need to do any on the back, particularly now that I've taken in the back, but I think this was kind of just a leftover of the shoulders being too wide. So yeah, I'm going to again match up one side to the other, cut that excess off, and then I can go ahead and bind that once I have cut my excess off the neckline as well. I've cut off the excess everywhere. I also realized that the back, because I took out that wedge, was kind of dipping down in the center and I didn't want that, so I evened that out across the back. But yeah, it is definitely still doing a little bubbling right here. But if I fold down the seam allowance that will go away with the binding, it really is the height that I want it to be, and I feel like a lot of that bubbling goes away when I do that. So I'm hoping that that's actually going to be true and that everything will be okay when I get rid of that. So yeah, it's where I need it to be. Now it's time to bind everything up again. Just in case you were wondering, this is what the inside of the binding looks like. Yes, I did have to use a different color on half of one arm's eye on the purple because I ran out of this kind of binding and they didn't have any more of that color at Joann's. But yeah, that's what it looks like. So you can see how the corners kind of fold over so that you get a nice flat look. As you're applying it from the right side, you basically just want to make sure everything is really nice and flat on that side before you turn it, because it'll give you room to do the turning and to do the stitching down. You can see all the stitches in there. So yeah, that is everything all done. And this is what the purple one looks like from the outside. As you can see, this is the finished pink now jumper dress. I am so excited to wear it. It's so comfy and so just easy to wear, and I can pair it with like any colors that I want, which is fantastic. So yeah, that is this one done. Now let's take a look at the finished purple dress. And here we go. Here is dress number 2, all finished. I love where the neckline got dropped down to. I think it's actually so much better here than it would have been up here for a jumper dress. And I really like the square neckline. Honestly, this dress reminds me a lot of my Beauty and the Beast dress that you've probably seen me wear in videos, because I have owned that one forever. I made it years and years ago and wear it all the time. But yeah, I really like both the front and back neckline, the square neck. max. I think the straps are kind of the right width now that I've taken in this area as well. It's not all bubbly, and yeah, this is gonna get a lot of wear. Like honestly, this is gonna get a lot more wear than the long sleeve version of it, I think, or the 3/4 sleeve version of it, the original version of it. Yeah, I'm gonna wear this a lot. I can already tell because it's so comfy too, and the pockets are great, and the skirt is cute and flowy, and yeah, I'm gonna be wearing both of these dresses so much. And that is actually going to be it for me for this week. I did not wind up having time to tackle the whole rest of the pile here, so at some point I will probably do another video where I just do a whole lot of alterations. I did one of those like a year or so ago, and a lot of these are just left behind from things I didn't get to then either. So yeah, I definitely need to do an alterations video at some point. Let me know if that's something that you would be interested in. But I'm very happy with how both of these alterations came out, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of use out of both of these dresses, so that is fantastic. I will leave a link down to SeamsFriendly down in the description, by the way, with a discount code for you guys, and it's also an affiliate link for me, so it really helps me out. And again, check out the video where I show you like the actual dresses that they wound up sending me afterwards, because remember, these were ones that were the first ones that didn't actually fit, and then they sent me the replacements. So yeah, now I have 4 dresses, well 5, including the jumper dress that didn't need any fixes, but 4 dresses from them that are quite different and will be all very, very fun to wear. If you liked this video though, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube at least once a week, usually with sewing vlogs like this out on Tuesdays, and sometimes additional costuming or sewing related content out on Saturdays. But I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below, or you can send me a super thanks or join my YouTube channel memberships right here on YouTube below the video. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Jean and Kim. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!